Fellas, say goodbye to Chuck Sherman the boy. I am now a man. I highly recommend you join the club. We are doing the wild thing all night.
Acid house music.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sherm.
Sherman, I cooked all this food. Is that all you gonna eat?
General Sherman realized and understood the importance of house music.
So, do you know anything about techno?
No.
Listen.
Get it on.
Yo, what's good, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm, of course, your host, Sherm. Today is Wednesday, March 31st, 2021. This is episode 154, and I have a very special guest for you. You guys already know how much I enjoy interviewing people who are behind the scenes because whether it's a brand, business, restaurant, venue, whatever, they are truly instrumental in playing a part in making everything come together. Today's interview features one of the most successful and influential tastemakers in Chicago hospitality, Carmen Rossi. Carmen's name is extremely well known in Chicago for a multitude of reasons, including hospitality, event curation, culinary practices, and he's even a key player in various Chicago city boards like the Illinois Restaurant Association, Landmark Association, and he's a successful lawyer. Needless to say, we had a lot to chat about in episode 154, and in my interview with Carmen, we discussed his early days in integration into Chicago. A Frankfort, Illinois native and a U of I graduate, Carmen has always had aspirations to build something that would make a positive impact on the city of Chicago on many levels. We also talked about the past, present, and future of 8 Hospitality. As a founder and CEO, Carmen has worked extremely hard to build this incredible hospitality brand that employs over 700 people at venues and restaurants across Chicago like Joy District, Hubbard Inn, The Dime, and so much more. Carmen and I also had one of my favorite conversations I've ever had on the podcast, period, and it's what makes Chicago, Chicago. Carmen and I discussed why Chicago is such an incredible place to not only live, but also build any sort of brand or business. We talked about Chicago cultural foundations like food, neighborhoods, sports, music, and so much more. This was such a special piece. Genuinely enjoyed this interview, and I have the utmost respect for everything that Carmen has built, but also because of his daily efforts to continue growing. We've all heard the saying, don't sweat the small stuff. This is exactly what makes Carmen different. He does sweat the small stuff. His attention to detail on every level is why he's made it to where he's at today. From one Chicagoan to another, thank you for coming on and sharing your story, Carmen. I got so much love and respect for you, man. Let's get into it right now so you guys can hear his story for yourselves. This is episode 154 with Carmen Rossi. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. It is my genuine pleasure to have Carmen Rossi here with me today. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this, and congratulations to your podcast. It's taken you a few months to schedule me because of how busy you are, which I think is a wonderful accolade and testament to your fan base and to your scheduling. And so I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
Well, I love doing in-person interviews, and it's great to be connecting with another Chicagoan today, another hustler out in the world, but you certainly are a next-level hustler, man. I'm excited to dive into your story, but I wanted to kick off this interview with something different.
Ooh. I have no idea where you're going.
You don't, but that's my job, right?
Here we go.
Now, there's something I think about almost every single day, and it's a motto, it's a mantra. And I think about it when I'm feeling high, I think about it when I'm feeling low, and it's very simple. I want to see what happens if I don't give up. I want to see what happens if I don't give up. It's how I got to this point now. It's how I've gotten to every point in life.
It's wonderful.
And in a lot of different ways, I feel like where you're at, before we really even get into your story, it exudes who you are in many different ways. When I say that line, I want to see what happens if I don't give up. What's something that comes to mind for you, whether it happened in the past year or previously?
Specific example, I could probably give you anecdotally a few, but I want to, I love that. What if I don't give up? I want to respond to it with not necessarily a mantra, but 2 things that I think everyone is capable of understanding and applying themselves to, and then where we break in application. The first is a hospitality sort of quip and I'm going to spend only a few seconds talking about it, but like you hear, don't sweat the small stuff. I'm the opposite. I like sweating the small stuff. I believe the devil is in the details. I'm obsessed with, the particulars. So when you can shrink things down, when you can slow things down, I think that's a separation mechanism where I'm going to become hyper-focused on a nuance. And by sweating the small stuff in opposition to the popular quip, I think there's a lot of ground to be made. But that's not when I hear don't give up, I hear like, that reminds me of there's 24 hours in a day. That's another broad, how do you get anything done? How do you find the time? And then that proverbial answer is, well, there's 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair. I think if we were to pick that apart and start applying it to people, whether it's in media, whether it's in music and entertainment, whether it's in a highly competitive field. So hospitality, highly competitive field.
Yeah. Very.
Politics, highly competitive, super, highlighted field. And entertainment DJing, highly competitive field.
Yeah.
So then when we say, well, where do you find the time to differentiate yourself amongst the crowd?
Yeah.
I think, and the mantra of not giving up or not quitting, I think is in line with this idea that if I were to wake up 30 minutes earlier, if I were to stay awake or stay at the office or not close my laptop, if I were to spend just 30 minutes more time on a specific, hyper-focused on a specific issue, I may differentiate myself from that populated field.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing to me is, yes, we are all in the same time continuum, and I'm not being philosophical. I'm being precise. I'm speaking as a matter of fact. But it's not, the indictment isn't for the people who spend the 30 minutes. It's how many people won't. So how many people won't wake up 30 minutes earlier?
Yeah.
We all have the 24 hours.
We do.
And we're all in incredibly competitive arenas, but it becomes easier to close the laptop. It becomes easier to pick up the phone and go onto social media. It becomes easier to turn on the TV or just hit the snooze button. So the inverse, I believe, of not quitting and not giving up is, in fact, putting in more time.
Yeah.
But what is and the inverse to that would then be quitting or giving up,
right? Which
is not waking up the 30 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
So most people won't do that, and I don't mean to say that's not a finger pointing statement. That's kind of a look in and a framing of what it takes. Everybody thinks. Yeah. So many people think it takes so much more to get ahead. Yeah. Or it takes an incredible happenstance, or and a lot of that's probably true. Luck has a ton to do with it, and I know somehow we'll get into the formulas for success. But I actually believe let's break up this macro intensity into a bunch of micro segments where, okay, I'm just going to spend 30 more minutes. Yeah. I'm just going to devote a few extra moments and a little bit more time in perfecting my craft, which inevitably results in your separation from the masses. So I love that. I love it. I knew you were the right I like where you started with it. I don't like that word, that quit word. Yeah. I don't like the use of negative words. And I'm not, people who know me personally would never describe me as a perennial optimist, but I know a lot of the people you deal with are
Yeah.
super high energy, very positive.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah.
Positivity is so intoxicating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were, in the few minutes before I came, we were just rapping about some of our shared contacts because we've actually never met.
Right.
And, if I were to dissect our conversation, I would say the commonality, the common variable between us would have been positivity.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It wasn't in craft. It was in, man, don't you just love that person and love that energy and love that, excitement toward, future endeavor. So, yes.
I love that. 30 more minutes. Every day I want people to know, okay? And that's it.
30.
Got to make sure
that's
they know.
actually a lot.
It is.
I think 30 minutes is a lot. If you just do 20, if you just wake up, if it's going to take 20 more minutes a day, which by the way is just a math problem, right? What's 20 more minutes times 365 days? If you just count weekends, maybe. But that's not a ton. That in a macro sense, that becomes a ton of time. But the fascinating thing is not math. The fascinating thing is people won't do it. Like, to me, it's amazing that you won't do it.
Yeah.
It's that you won't put the phone away. It's that you won't, turn the TV off. It's that you won't. And I'm not indicting American culture or
it's just most
generations.
People, though.
It's
not everyone, like you said. It's just most people.
And I find so much motivation, just personal motivation, in pushing myself, not quitting, as you say.
Yeah.
To where it's just like, come on, you got 20 more minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't say 2 more hours.
Yeah.
I didn't say 15 more reps. It's just a couple more minutes. Just put it in. And I think that's where, if success were on a scale, it probably is found.
Yeah.
That line, if I were to be linear, were to be probably closer to the end.
Yeah.
Closer to the edge.
Yeah.
So those last few, I don't think I'm revolutionary in saying this, by the way. I also am not citing anybody. These are original thoughts.
Yes, they are. But you know what? The reason I asked that, there's a lot of different reasons. We're now, I would say, at least on the other side comfortably of this pandemic, which has really just been, I don't know. I can't think of any other word other than unprecedented, right? And that's what everybody's been saying. But I wanted you to share that because I knew you were going to say something very, very optimistic and forward-thinking and motivating, because a lot of people have had the opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to do another 20 minutes. No, I'm not going to do that because I'm sad, I'm depressed. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But I think it's so important that people like you and I, who won't let anything break us down, inject that positivity back into people again.
So... that wasn't a dramatic pause. These are just unprepared thoughts that are organized at a higher frequency.
So, podcast, Carmen, do your thing, bro.
My response to that is that the pandemic isn't the worst thing.
Agreed.
We slowed down, and for somebody in an industry that has been highlighted as decimated.
Yeah.
On a national scale.
Yeah.
Universally recognized by Congress, recognized by local governments, recognized by most households.
Yeah.
I would still say that the pandemic isn't the worst thing on an individual basis. Perhaps for the business itself. But let's shrink things down.
Yeah.
On an individual basis, we were allowed to reimagine efficiencies, frame goals, set priorities, take a minute to breathe.
Yeah.
I mean, the life of an entrepreneur, and I think people associate entrepreneurialism with business owner. I think, in my personal opinion, and I teach at the University of Illinois, I'm constantly talking to undergrads. My big message is to, your best effort to translate yourself into a brand. So the brands that we wear, the brands that we buy, the brands that we shop for, the brands that we want to be associated with, make yourself a brand.
Yeah.
So that you, as a consumer, would want to buy it. you as a business would want to sponsor it. You as exactly.
Yeah, I feel you.
So if we were to do that, we now have the opportunity to slow down and say, okay, let's start asking some of the more convoluted questions. What is our brand? What are we trying to accomplish? What are our goals? The pandemic allowed that.
Yeah.
Forced isolation leaves you with your thoughts.
Yep.
I mean, we've tested how much Netflix there is. We all got through it.
Us all
And
personally,
eventually the TV went off and we were left with our thoughts.
Yeah.
And maybe that was quality time for introspection. So I think in that regard, the pandemic will allow us to become stronger. Not only we as individuals, but we as businesses.
Yeah.
Now, and we as products. Now, what is the effect of the pandemic, as you said? And I don't just think the pandemic isn't just one thing anymore. The pandemic used to be a virus.
Yeah.
You know, like, and obviously that's the first thing we think of, but that's not all 2020 was.
Yeah.
2020 was tumultuous, certainly on a health basis, on a vulnerability, but also on a social basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Economically, politically.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think this is an opportunity to lament over 2020. It definitely happened. I mean, if we were to remain positive, perhaps we could imagine how we're going to come from this in a stronger light.
Yep, absolutely. Certain
industries succeeded massively, right?
More than they ever would before.
More than they ever would before.
Yeah.
And God bless them, quite frankly.
Yeah,
I mean, like, you know, if we all wish we were a part of those industries, whether it was real estate, whether it was on a residential basis, the financial markets, tech, what it did for tech, you know, and greater efficiencies. But, you know, there were industries that suffered. Regardless, the year happened.
Yeah.
I think there was such an excitement for 2021. You know, we've all seen so many memes about 2021 versus 2020.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've seen that flip. But you're right. The light is at the end of the tunnel. I'm of the opinion that we will return to massive gatherings.
Yeah.
And I don't speak at all from a scientific basis or as a medical physician by any means. I just speak as a human being.
Yeah.
And I'm betting that human beings will want to act in a behavior that is consistent with humans and humanity.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be repetitive or monotonous in the sense of silliness, but I think we all are itching to get back out and to engage and to be, you know, this idea of tech eliminating social interaction.
Yeah.
I'm not a buyer into that.
Me neither.
We're a social species.
Yep.
Will tech change our species? That's a pretty magnanimous sort of theory.
It has in a lot of ways.
It is.
We don't know the scope.
Accelerated.
We don't know the scope.
Accelerated us. I think we would have gotten to Zoom. I think we would have gotten to virtual meetings.
Yep.
I think there would have been a entertainer who wanted to reach the masses by producing a live stream. And I thought it was really cool in some musicians in live streams, you know, having a screen that they could read the comments.
So
and
cool.
Do shout outs to their fans while performing.
Yep.
I think that's amazingly intimate. I think there's something to be said about, you know, dimming your lights in your home and you know, setting the scene and getting some drinks and
Yeah.
cranking the speakers and feeling like you're there.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
having an intimate reaction. I think that's awesome. I think we would have gotten there, regardless of the pandemic and the lockdowns and the isolation. I think we would have gotten there. What happened was we just got there faster.
Yeah.
I think this might have been 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Same with working from home. Do I think people will go into an office again? Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's a wild, statement by saying that people aren't going to return. But
It'll
do I think
change.
we got there faster?
Yeah.
Do we get to, yeah, I mean, it's no different than the need for lawyers as an attorney. Law firms, and man, what a boring example, but it's what I have off the top
Give
of
it
my
to
head.
me. Yeah.
Law firms used to have so much dedicated space, like floors in the city, dedicated to law libraries because everything was on books.
Right.
You needed floors and floors because think of how broad the legal system
It's
is.
actually a great example. Yeah.
And then everything went digital.
Yep.
And those law firms said, wait a minute, I don't need 7 floors.
Yeah.
3 offices, 4 law library.
Mm-hmm.
I only need the 3 floors because everything's on the. So I mean, there's been precedent and examples.
Yeah.
To technology shrinking.
Yep.
I mean, that's again, these aren't revolutionary concepts by any means, but I think we come back pretty quick. This is not the basis of your podcast, and I'm not trying to be inappropriate by suggesting it's a political thought by any means, but I don't blame government, politicians for where we are. I'm not frustrated by regulations and rules.
Yeah.
We haven't seen this before.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to make the wrong decision. I think you and I at least are insanely grateful that we didn't have to be the face of a decision. I think it's frustrating. We're business owners. We want to be out. We want to promote progress. We want to get the economy roaring. We want to see life on the streets again. And it's quick to point a finger. I know I'm probably pissing off a lot of people by not taking shots at politicians, but no, I mean, I don't envy that position. And there wasn't a playbook besides something that happened 100 years ago that doesn't.
It's easy to blame people, right?
Yeah, right.
And I agree with you, and I appreciate you actually taking a stand on that, and I'd like to do the same as well. I agree with you. I really do agree with you. I mentioned my dad's a doctor. My mom was a nurse. I sided with science on this, and I asked them many times, and I did my research as much as I could, and I watched the news more than I ever thought I would, and it's so crazy when you realize sometimes you don't know who to trust when so many things are coming at you, right? Like, I've been growing up in a world that's so oversaturated by social media, right, and targeted ads, and being told not to trust the internet anymore. And 25, 30 years ago, the internet was the facts, right?
Yeah.
And now it seems like we're back to where we were before, where it's like word of mouth. I only trust what my friends told me or what I heard from someone who's professional. And I do appreciate you saying that, and I agree. I think everyone's done the best they can for all things considered, man. Like,
you reached a great point, and again, I think we've deviated a little bit, but we're just gonna.
That's a podcast, baby. Yeah,
we're gonna stay in the rabbit hole. So one of the healthiest things I think I do.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what's the healthiest thing I do?
What?
Drink a ton of water.
Yes, that's true.
That's something we have in common. Love to hear it. I believe I drink an unhealthy amount of water. But the second healthy thing, if I were to rank, and I don't think I do a ton of things healthy, but I don't watch the news.
Really?
Isn't 2020 has just completely and by the way, that's not even a political statement. If you are left and you watch Fox News, you're pissed off.
So true.
If you're right and you watch CNN, you're pissed off. But you know what? The inverse is true. If you're left and you watch CNN, they're getting you riled up and you're pissed off. And if you're right and you're watching Fox News, they're riling you up and pissing you off. So I mean, in every hypothetical, somebody's trying to piss you off. So I literally, and as somebody who can appreciate academic process and research and institutional knowledge, I'm not endorsing the iPhone, but it comes with that little news app.
Yeah.
And like it just shows you just like headlines.
Yeah. All you need to see.
It's all I need. I just need to make sure like some country isn't bombing another. It's not World War III.
Yes.
And I need to make sure like the stock market, like whatever, like I'll flip through it for 15 seconds. I probably do it 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to see, and it gives you pop culture, it gives you sports, it gives you economics.
Yep.
But I flip through it really quick. I make sure I don't see anything crazy. But that is the extent of my news. Because nowadays, wow.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It gets you, so worked up. And it's, I think it's hard enough to manage our own lives. Mm-hmm. And everybody has a full day.
Yep.
You just do.
Yeah.
You've got a ton of externalities, a ton of influences. There are so many people, being a business owner, they say, wow, you're responsible for so many lives. You don't have to be a business owner to be responsible for lives.
Right.
You can be a son, a brother, a friend, a girlfriend, a boyfriend. You can be anything. Yep. And you're responsible for other people's lives.
Yeah.
And those sorts of pressures, that's enough already.
Yeah.
Now you're adding on top of it all of the societal influences, and I could see very quickly where it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I try to micro contain, but
I like that. And for someone who has so much going on in their life, you probably try and not get too inundated with all that stuff, right?
I love to be involved.
Yeah.
Like that is there's a movie with Jim Carrey called Yes Men.
Oh,
Yes
I love.
Men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, as a movie, I won't give my my coveted grading of it.
It's not that great of a movie. I agree.
But as it really resonated with me as not an ideology, but maybe as a positive philosophy into just saying yes to as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't have a traditional background.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to what I do today,
So true.
I went to undergrad. I had no idea what I wanted to major in.
Yeah.
I started majoring things that I didn't necessarily. I knew quickly on that it wasn't going to be my future.
Yeah.
When you major in political science and Shakespearean literature,
yeah,
you're that
English and poli sci, right?
Short of your short of being a teacher.
Yeah.
There's not a ton left.
Right.
And then I stayed in grad school because I'd started some small businesses,
mm-hmm.
but my small businesses had no correlative chain to what my interests were.
Yeah.
Meaning, for example, a painting company.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
A furniture building company.
Mm-hmm.
We did a tech marketing company. These were all totally foreign to me.
Yeah.
I was more interested in saying yes to starting a business.
Right.
Partnering with people.
Right.
Sales.
Yeah.
What the product was, we'll figure it out. Which sounds incredibly disingenuous. And for anybody whose house we painted or furniture we built or anything, that was still good work.
That's good work.
It was good work. But, at the time, the skill set wasn't predicated on being interested in carpentry.
Yeah.
The skill set was exploration,
mm-hmm.
exploration of the self.
Yeah.
What are my interests?
Yeah.
But also exploration into complementary concepts. So sales, marketing.
Right.
That's where business structure.
Right.
Finance.
Right.
Isn't that the life of an entertainer?
Yeah.
People may, think, or a business owner, you own a restaurant, you serve food.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little minimalist.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're a DJ, you play music.
Right.
Well, I think there's a lot more. To become a successful DJ,
mm-hmm.
you're not talking about just playing music.
Yeah.
To become a successful painting company, you're not talking about just painting. You're talking about those other areas that people absolutely have to pay attention to
Yeah.
and probably get frustrated with, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because wait a minute, my music is great.
They think it's just that.
But maybe it is.
Yeah.
Like maybe their music is, for the gods.
Yeah.
And isn't it frustrating that that's not enough to get every gig that you want, to get played as many views as some of your peers? And, that today is the world we live in.
It is.
And where it doesn't take just an amazingly, beautifully, perfectly put together product.
Yeah.
But you have to wait a minute. And I'm going to use a very perfected term of art here, but it takes so much to fucking have one good thing.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me I need to involve 5 other things?
Yeah, it's so true.
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
And that becomes, I don't want to say demoralizing, but that's where, these concepts of returning, here's the callback to where we started.
Yeah.
Quitting
Yeah.
comes into mind because, wait a minute, it should just be enough that I've delivered something that's awesome.
Yep.
And that could be subjectively, but let's just assume objectively, considered at its peak, or top performer, or a product of excellence. But now you're telling me that's not enough?
No,
I also have to do all of these things, and then I need luck too, which I believe luck plays a absolutely significant proportion of the success sort of formula.
I agree.
But yeah, I mean that's where that sort of extra time, deep breath, commitment. I think that's where we are.
That's where we are, and that's a really great example, and it comes up all the time, especially for successful artists. A lot of times when I interview them and I ask them part of their story and I say, how did you get to this point with your brand, so on and so forth, a lot of them say it's 50% music, sometimes even less, 60, 70% branding, network, luck, all that stuff. And that's not just music. That's really in life these days. If you want to build a brand in any sort, in any fashion, in any facet of artistry, hospitality, right? For example, for you, you knew that it was more like when you started 8 Hospitality, and we'll go into this in a second here, right? When you really started it, even back then, did you know that you had to do something different in order to really stand out? You couldn't just have good food, couldn't just have a good location, couldn't just have great bartenders, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's so hard to get where you're going wherein you don't know the final destination. And that's not a good, you should, you shouldn't plan or lack thereof accordingly.
Right.
But when it comes to that religion of yes and just getting involved in things, I'll liken it, oh man, not a great analogy, but it's the one that came out to the forefront. So let's say you're going on a date. Let's say you're going on a date.
Yeah.
And you're interested in a relationship.
Okay.
But you're early into the dating scene.
Right.
You think you know what you want.
Yeah.
So you would think like, well, if you were to be interviewed by a social media website, proverbially, or just a friend who wants to set you up, they may give you a questionnaire and say,
right,
well, what are the types of people you're interested in? And maybe I would say, well, the girl wants this education and these interests and this and our likes and our similarities and that. But you don't know, because you're in the earliest stages of your self-exploration. So you would have to go on a series of dates with girls that you would perhaps then realize like, shit, I thought I liked this. I don't. Or you just said something that's totally interesting that I never thought about.
Yeah.
And, I never thought that we would be compatible.
Right.
But we're having such a good time. That's the process. You have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You have to say yes. You have to go down roads that are, not just uncomfortable, but unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Or not only unfamiliar in the knowledge basis, but just unfamiliar in the sense of your own insecurities.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not good at this.
Yeah.
So I don't feel comfortable necessarily going down this. But then you might find out, shit, I am really good at this. Or the inverse of that is, I thought I really liked this.
Yeah.
Now that I've been exposed to it,
Right.
turns out I don't.
Right.
And that's what Yes did to me. So I did the education. I started all these companies. Now the peel back is that I have an entrepreneurial spirit.
Of course.
I love to create.
Yeah.
I wish I was better at other things.
Were your parents entrepreneurs? I'm like, where did this stem from?
Not at all. And in truth, they were wildly supportive. Like,
yeah.
It is only a testament. I can only speak to them because they are my only parents.
You're from Frankfort, right?
Frankfort,
so
smaller town,
right?
south
Yeah.
suburbs,
right?
But
right.
They were really cool and supportive with me. They were patient.
Mm-hmm.
I think so long as I didn't get into too much trouble, there was that sort of rope.
Right.
That they allowed me. And then that I did happen to, from time to time, get into trouble. I had to pull some of that rope back.
Yeah,
but,
young Carmen.
Never too hard. And I think that I will say that was cool.
Right.
That was a contributor.
Right.
But no, they were super scared for me to go into the city. They were, play it safe. Getting an education is,
right.
You don't need to get too creative here.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane. And I like going outside my lane.
Yeah.
I love getting involved in things that I have to push myself. If a certain category is unknown to me, then, and I don't know if we could, we'll have to edit to where my hands go. But, as a visual, because I've only been giving linguistic analogy. But if a certain category that is unfamiliar to me is something I'm interested in, then because I'm unfamiliar with it, I'm probably starting here.
Right.
But I don't want to compete here. I don't want to compete at the bottom.
Right.
So the only way to gain a seat at the table is to advance myself. Nobody wants to be seated at a table with such a strong delta or gap between the two. So how do I raise myself to that area?
Yeah.
I network. I become hyper-focused. I want to learn everything there is to know about it.
Yeah.
I want to create advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were, your background in the music industry, having been a DJ and wanting to come to Chicago is in a hyper, I don't like that word for this, is in a highly competitive field.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
So how do you get a seat at the table when there's, in the game of musical chairs, there are, the proverbial 8 chairs, but there's not 10 kids running around it.
This
there's
is good,
10,000.
This is good, yeah.
There's 10,000 people running around 8 chairs.
Just in Chicago.
Yeah. So how do you do it? Okay, well, you don't use the Q word, which I don't like, but you don't you don't quit.
Yeah.
You create a different opportunity.
Yep.
And your opportunity, as I've gotten to know a brief story in the minutes before we started this, was to go into media, to create a podcast, to engage. And how many chairs are there in the Chicago community?
I built my own fucking table, Carmen.
Fine, great.
Yeah.
Great. So maybe there's 8 chairs and there's only 4 of you.
Yeah.
Or 2 of you.
Yeah.
But now it's easier to get a chair.
Yes, it is.
And through that, we're going to then take our chair and move it over to another table.
Right.
And move it over to another table. And now there's a sense of credibility.
Yeah.
I jive with that sort of story.
I like that.
Because it's like, okay, I want to have some impact in the hospitality scene, but I have no credit. I mean, think about it. Here's the table. Carmen, do you have any culinary background? Carmen, have you gone to school for hospitality? Carmen, have you ever owned a restaurant? Carmen, do any of your parents, relatives, or otherwise? Have you ever worked in a restaurant? Do you know anything about music? Do you know anything about food mixology? Have you ever raised money to buy a building? The answer to all of those is no.
No.
And,
Yeah.
you know, which makes it pretty easy to say, you're right, I don't belong here.
Yeah, totally.
I'm quitting on this idea.
Most
and
people.
Maybe I'll do something else.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
for me, there is an element of, yes, there is an element of network, but I had to create my own opportunity.
You bet on yourself.
Which may have been an alternative, but I wanted to get to that table. So I found opportunities at perhaps, other arenas around that table so that I could just keep inching closer and closer. I don't believe it's impossible. When it comes to possibilities and impossibilities, I think they're pretty physical.
Yeah.
Meaning it's impossible for me to start on the Bulls next year. Even with our Eastern Conference standings. We can nod our heads on the physical impossibility.
Right.
But if we can eliminate physical impossibilities, I want to learn a second language.
Yeah.
I want to start a business in an industry that I'm not in today. I want to gain a second job or discipline in academia. Mm-hmm. Maybe I want to have a certification in accounting. Mm-hmm. Those are things that are obviously not physical impossibilities, but we can begin to nod our heads to say, all right, macro concepts are, I want to be rich, I want to be successful.
Yeah.
I don't fuck with the macro.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It's
bigger. You have to be somebody who is super dynamic and super special.
Yeah.
I don't hold myself to those standards.
Mm-hmm.
I never have.
Mm-hmm. I was
that. Never the captain of any team.
Right.
I was never the tallest. I was never the smartest.
Right.
I was not. So I have years of practice of not executing on the highest caliber with ease. So to me, it just, okay, fuck the macro. Let's just concentrate on micro goals.
Yeah.
Day to day, week to week, month. Okay, we're getting, but also like, what can I do if the goal is to own a business that revenue generates 5 million?
Yeah.
That's macro.
Right.
But 5 million on a weekly basis is 100,000.
Right.
Okay, I get my head around that.
Right.
Or industry related. Okay, I want a hospitality portfolio. All right. Well, what's in my world that I can begin to flirt with? Maybe it's a single unit restaurant.
Yeah.
Or maybe that single unit restaurant, and here's where we even go more micro, is a niche that I understand.
Right.
So being a millennial,
right,
I thought my network is youth. My network is the future.
You are your target demographic.
I am the target demographic.
Yes.
I like to go out.
Right.
I like to, I am a consumer for our product.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started the company, I won't say there was a huge void, because Chicago is such a special city. It's one of the most important cities in the world. I could teach semesters long on that topic.
I'd be your teacher's assistant.
Yes. Just on a cultural basis, diversity basis, an economic basis, social structure, politics. It's very important. It's very important. Transportation is the most important, but that's just for the academic nerds.
Yes.
The idea of having the idea of being a consumer and starting in hospitality led me first to entertainment. Led me to bodies. Like, we need bodies in order to be popular.
Right.
Okay. Now let's reverse engineer bodies.
Yeah. How
do we get bodies through the door?
Yeah.
We're talking about, certainly we're in the product field, but it could be mixology, only I'm not a mixologist. We're not mixologists. It could be...
We are drinking whiskey on the rocks right now, aren't we?
That's right. Pretty easily.
We're not the best mixologists.
Yes. That was the extent of our ingredients. Ice and whiskey. And that was kind of complicated. But I think music, vibe, energy was one of our initial ingredients for success.
Yeah.
And that was something that was within our understanding that I wanted to focus on.
Right.
Which is why, my first handful of places, sorry if that's feedback. My first handful of places were higher energy. And if it was, energy comes from, to me, energy comes from lighting.
Yep.
Which seems easy, is incredibly complex.
Yeah.
When capturing the time of day, when capturing the element of crowd, when capturing the vibe, the desired for vibe. But and then obviously the obvious one is music.
Yeah.
We talk about the beats per minute. We talk about the style and genre. We talk about which are probably matching by the time of day. But it really got me involved with a ton of DJs.
Yeah.
Which was not a world that I came from at all.
Right.
I knew the extent of my understanding good music was self-preferential on an iPad. An iPod. Or I don't even know if those exist anymore. Do iPods exist anymore?
They don't. Well, actually, they do. They do, but in a very, very different context than when you and I are.
Can you go to a store and buy an iPod?
I'm pretty sure you can at the Apple Store. Yeah, but it's for kids. They're for kids now. That's literally
loading music.
Literally.
But I lived through Napster.
Yeah, LimeWire, Livewire. Yeah.
Which, by the way, wow. I'm only these thoughts are only live and that they're rushing to my head. But
I told you.
My comment to that would be, LimeWire, Napster, taught me a lot of good music because on those chats, when you would have to type in the code to request a song, I wouldn't know good music necessarily,
right?
Or pop music or popular music,
right?
But I would see other people chatting the request volume, and I'd say like, shit, everybody is requesting this song, like it must be good. I gotta request it. Like that was your digital TRL, which is a horrible reference.
Yeah, it's good actually. I like that.
From there, I believe it went to iTunes.
Yep.
And then iTunes with the iPod that you would load into. But that was like, by the way, that's not even remotely technical. That was just the genesis of my music involvement.
Right.
When I started to open up places and acquire places, and I was lucky. I was lucky in doing it, and I'll only spend a few seconds to say this, but I think when you qualify a statement by stating that you opened up a couple places, you're skipping an assumption, because people would say, well, how the hell did you do that? I did it irresponsibly. And perhaps I will pay Google a ton of money to hide this interview years from now, because I won't want to be seen as a irresponsible businessman. But the reality of the situation was, as success came in, if success was $1 coming in, I leveraged it by 2. So if $1 came in, I would spend 2.
Yeah.
The irresponsibility is on its face,
right?
With leverage. But my thought was, I'm trying to get somewhere quickly.
Yeah.
And what's fun about being young, and what's dangerously nervous about perhaps not being old, but being older with responsibilities, is here's a fact. I lived with my parents till I was 27.
Yeah.
I graduated law school when I was 27 years old. Until that time, I lived with my parents on spring break, on Christmas break, on summer break. I would go home. That's pretty. When I opened Hubbard Inn on the 3 floors, I was driving back to Frankfort.
I was going to ask how old you were. Yeah.
I was 27 years old.
That's
I had
crazy.
not moved into the city. And so,
holy shit.
And the world was moving quick back then, but
sure.
and fortunately, like I said, I had really I had a special relationship with my parents, meaning they didn't hate me and want me out of the house.
Yeah.
As a measure of process, when I could risk it all, because the worst case scenario was the scenario that I was probably in, which isn't saying it was negative. It was, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
I fail, lose, and live with my parents.
Right.
I'm already living with my parents.
Yeah.
I wanted to reach the goal versus I wanted to reach the goal, but I have a family. I have kids.
Yeah.
I have obligations.
Right.
That's a wildly different analysis.
Right.
When it comes to leverage and risk.
Yeah.
So not only was I afforded the opportunity by being young.
Yeah.
I caught some luck.
Well, 27, a lot of people consider that old sometimes, right? You obviously think the fucking opposite, and I do too.
I think it's old today, and I'm older than that. But listen, this industry has afforded me the opportunity to work with a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
I've watched the industry evolve. I am super motivated by positive energy and positive outlook, but also uncharted territory. So I get here's interesting. Well, I qualify it by being interesting, but here's a dichotomy that I think I'll be able to speak in the realm of the show, but be a little bit outside of it. You're used to engaging with musicians,
right,
and DJs,
right,
and they're working and operating in the ecosystem of music festivals, stages, and venues, restaurants, clubs,
right,
bars,
right.
I've operated music festivals. I represent music venues as an attorney, and I own nightclubs, restaurants, bars. So
you are the ecosystem.
I participate in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is a clash between the art of the art of passion.
Yeah. Performance and passion.
And performance.
Yeah.
And the delivery of product.
Yeah.
And if my product is enjoyable bodies, sometimes that doesn't jive.
Yeah. Yep.
So I am sometimes at odds with the music curator, and I don't just mean to say DJ. I mean, there's musician, there's volume that takes into place. I think I'm getting granular by describing this.
I know what you mean, though.
But I'm trying to establish the sort of friction and the competing interests. I get a musician or entertainer and their desire to be heard. Yeah. Literally.
Express themselves.
Yeah. But to showcase their music.
Yeah.
And I also understand and represent the stick to the hits, give them what they want.
The business
of it.
Yeah.
And those don't jive sometimes, and probably create conflict or at least friction a lot of times. And I think there is a middle ground.
Yeah.
But I try to, and I'm being sincere here. I try to put myself in the business of creating music.
Sure. Yeah.
And in doing so, I want to be a venue. I probably struggle with some degree of frequency in being a venue that wants to promote local talent.
Right.
Local music.
Yep.
Original music sounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because I'm a business owner,
right,
and because I'm a capitalist, and not in the evil sense, but a capitalist in the pure sense of
build.
Yeah,
generating.
generating in the black.
Well, like you said, get bodies in the door and keep them there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that conflicts.
Yeah.
I want to give the shot, but I also would rather we stick to the hits. And I think over time I know some of my favorite, like if we're talking about DJs, some of my favorite DJs play rooms.
Yeah.
And what a skill that is.
Yeah.
Because you could show up and not know whether, there's 32 couples celebrating, whether there's a 25 top. And I say 32 couples celebrating their relationship.
Right.
And I don't just mean Valentine's Day.
Right.
But or a 25 top of business executives over the age of 50.
Or a bachelorette party.
Or a bachelorette party. Or, families. Or, the softball league. Or the whatever that is.
Yeah, man.
There's the talent.
Yeah.
Is playing to each of them.
So true.
And I don't think I could do that. That's meaning, and I don't think I can make macaroni and cheese, but I'm saying that's a fucking skill.
It is. It absolutely is.
That is, to be able to touch upon individual desires, preferences, versus I'm here, I am me, I'm the brand.
Yep.
I am Nike.
Right.
I am Supreme.
Right.
Which is, I am, I am a product and a brand, and I'm here to play me.
Yeah.
And sometimes that connects at a level where you're creating fans, where people take a step back and are just like, wow, and you've converted.
Yeah.
You've converted somebody into a fan where maybe they showed up to have fun, hear music, because their friends were doing that, because they got a free ticket, or because they're having a drink in a bar, or are out at a club, or they're converted as something totally random, but we don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I know that's an obvious point, but when somebody comes into a venue and the venue is curating a product that is meant for volume and masses, you're rolling the dice.
Absolutely.
And I try, and so here is the exercise.
Yeah.
So you're the DJ.
Right.
You're the brand.
Yep.
What do you do? Do you
So
play?
tough.
Do you play to the room, and nobody notices you?
Yeah.
But for good tunes, I'm having a great time.
Right.
At this venue.
Yep.
This was great. And then I'm probably even tipping my waiter or waitress more because the music's great, but I'm not even thinking about it. That's just contributing to my vibe.
Right.
But I'm translating it into the service.
Right.
And I might come back because it's great. Or do I get a little risque, throw in some of my own stuff?
Right.
Because this is my 2 hours.
This is my chance.
This is my chance. And I get that.
Yeah.
I get it. And I don't think and it's a fine line. And I can think of, more than a couple of instances where that didn't go well. There was that conflict.
Where the product.
Here.
And the artist.
What I'm trying to do is different than what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I think when I first.
And I'm only saying, by the way, I want you to go, but I'm not indicting the industry.
I think it's important.
I'm just talking about this happens.
Well, I think it's important, honestly, and this is great advice for younger DJs, Carmen, that are trying to get into the scene. What do I do? What do I play? All this sort of shit, right? The guys that are playing these rooms, you know what I mean? That are playing a lot of these 8 hospitality venues, which are, I don't have to tell you, the best in the city for DJs, because this is where the people go. DJs want to play where people are, right? I don't want to have to be the reason that people come. But when it comes down to it, you are paying us and we have a job to do and we work for you. And that's the mentality that I always had. Now, I'm not a traditional open format DJ. That's why I do the podcast. Don't get me wrong. I've DJed at Hubbard Inn. I've DJed at Key Club. I've DJed at Parlay many, many times. And I know that I have a job to do there. But that is something that I've interviewed a lot of DJs about. I've heard a lot of DJs about. I don't want to play these venues because they don't respect, my
Totally.
music.
I get it.
The managers come up to me and tell me what to play. And as an artist, I understand that, and I'm glad that you, at least as one of the men on the top,
we're on a podcast of conflict right now.
This is
I
it.
like this. I like this,
and it's so
I'm
important.
going to defend the point.
Defend.
Good. No. Press on. I know exactly. Well, I shouldn't say exactly. My goal.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to rank A hospitality.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who some of the greats are. What do you want to talk about? Food? Brennan Sodakoff, Hog Salt Hospitality.
Yeah.
You want to ask me my favorite steakhouse? I'm an investor in steakhouses. I'll tell you one that I'm not an investor in. It's my favorite. It's Bavette's.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
It's the best.
It's great.
Yeah.
I love giving praise.
Yeah.
What the Boca Group has done to Chicago in raising the culinary status. How many Michelin stars we've gotten. How fun it is to take a date or friends or family to Michelin style.
Oh.
You're not getting that. I didn't get that in Frankfurt. I
Makes
didn't
me
know.
love Chicago.
I didn't know what a tasting menu. I thought a tasting menu was here, taste this.
Yeah.
That's the extent of my hospitality and culinary background. So let us entertain you. In my opinion, I love praise. I love competition. People who meet me could say, they could say whatever they want about me.
Right.
I might be a little bit more introspective while out, meaning, I'm focusing on what's 6 inches in front of me, but I love praise. I love competition. I want to raise the bar.
Yeah.
I want to see Chicago compete with some of the best cities in the world.
Yeah.
We only get there as a collective.
Absolutely.
And 8 Hospitality, God willing, and I would be blessed and honored and fortunate if I could be a small cog to that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about me at all. So I don't want to, I don't want to talk about where 8 Hospitality is, but I will say what I believe my role is.
Yeah.
What I want my role is.
Please.
I am the one. Okay, I'm going to keep with this sentence.
Come on.
I am the one company that is so diverse that we have a portfolio of neighborhood restaurants, neighborhood sports bars, finer dining, eclectic Italian seafood, pizza concepts, taquerias, Mexican, Spanish influence.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a part of, 18 sort of units, a number of different concepts. We have college bars.
You're
in
literally
heart
the
of
fucking
campus.
Disneyland, bro. That's what I mean. Like, you have
But
it all.
the most dangerous one, and I use danger as a as a risque and exciting word, not as a negative, but is nightclubs. I think I'm the biggest nightclub owner.
And that's what I meant in that sense too.
With the number of which curates music and DJs.
But as Entertain You does not have DJs.
Yeah, people stick to their genres.
Right.
Whereas what my goal is when it comes to hospitality is to create.
Mm-hmm.
What am I creating? I'm creating jobs. Yep. I'm creating volume. Yep. I'm creating capacity. I'm creating, if we were to peel those layers off, there's memories, there's events, it allows us to get into the music industry, allows us to interact with many of the main stages in the city, Lollapalooza, engagements like that. But in doing so, I'm participating this production a lot with music.
Yeah.
With somebody who has a non-technical basis. My Instagram of me playing piano is not me being a musician. That not even in its most generous description is me being a musician. So I don't have a music background. I don't have involvement in the industry, but I'm very much interrelated.
Yeah.
When I say I don't have involvement, I don't have the pedigree or the credibility to necessarily opine on what should be played.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know our product. I do know the masses.
Yeah.
And if my goal is to create where there are more venues, more tourism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we set a record in 2019 for tourism at 58 million people.
Holy shit.
In 2011, it was 41 million. That's 17 million delta in 7 years is the largest spread of tourism amongst any major city in the world.
I didn't know that.
So, but the goal is, okay, wait a minute. We're doing something right. Chicago's doing something right.
Right.
And we're all contributing pieces to that.
Right.
Culinary, music. Music is a massive portion of it.
Yeah.
But having these venues, nightlife, sports success,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that is just our burgeoning, sort of Midwestern attachment towards sports.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about that greater contribution, you're going all the way down to the DJ.
Yeah.
And somebody who's curating music, entertainment vibe,
Yeah.
has a sincere responsibility, has like a very grave obligation to make sure that they deliver
Mm-hmm.
what those masses want, so that we can go from 58 to 65 to 72.
Yeah.
So that I have been I've been quoted a few times, but I still believe in the statement. There isn't another city I would have been able to start in
Mm-hmm.
and gain the same level of success.
Yeah.
If I would have started in New York, if I would have started in Los Angeles, Miami,
Mm-hmm.
this is a very special city, and a lot of my peers and colleagues could have easily said, "Who the hell is this new guy?
Yeah.
Let's squash him."
I say the same thing about this podcast, Carmen. I really do.
And there's a rally towards it.
Yeah.
And I was given some advice, tips. There was a level of camaraderie that gave confidence. And so, I think the same is to be said in the DJ community,
Mm-hmm.
in the musician and the entertainment community, where, there is, if you're playing here, if you're doing this, you should reach out to this person.
Right.
Let me connect you here.
Right.
I love your vibes and energy. I love your tempo here. Or,
Mm-hmm.
your direction. So, I see that, and I want to be a positive contribution to that.
Yeah.
When we were just talking about the sort of conflict
Yeah.
of, brand building, awareness, passion,
Yeah.
and the desired product of the venue.
Right.
My advice is start a level of communication.
Yeah.
Have something in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Know if you're going to go off on the ledge, you better have something right there. You better have that whatever that button
Get out
is
of jail free card, basically.
to go the other way.
Yeah.
But then to engage and say you've had a couple of guests that I really want to. I don't want to call out specifically because I don't know if it's appropriate, but I want to say, like, I know some of the guests that you've come on this show.
Yeah.
And their levels of communication and feedback and their, desire to be participatory in the music
Mm-hmm.
is educational in both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So they're seeking the education here,
Yeah.
but we're seeking the education.
Yeah.
Like, we want to know, like, well, actually, I think this crowd would, or actually, if I were able to, bring them through this spectrum,
Right.
Give me 10 minutes here. If you don't like it, ping me again.
Yeah.
That is less.
Mm-hmm.
That comes with less conflict.
I like that. A partnership.
Abrasiveness. Yeah, it's more of a partnership.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a key ingredient to having a successful venue. Like, when people say they don't let me play this, they don't want me to do that, that's on a macro sense.
That's so true.
That's grading your 3 hours
Yeah.
and saying, I didn't get to do this, or I wouldn't want, versus treating those 3 hours in a micro sense, where
Mm-hmm.
every 15 to 20 minutes was a set,
Right.
and this is a journey,
Yep.
and I love that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're right, like, shut the fuck up.
I
mean that. I'm saying that.
No, I get you.
With a smile on my face. But,
Right.
sometimes they're right.
Yeah.
And and then we're educated and we're like, but we would have needed that conversation. And that this isn't intended to be some portion of the segment where I'm delivering advice, because I don't think that I have
perspective.
I don't have the credibility to give advice. I just have, anecdotally the requisite amount of experience that could say, hey, in these situations, I've seen this, so many different times with so many different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
There's a formula here, and the formula is probably communication, participation, collaboration, partnership. The formula is not, let's see whose chest can stick out farther.
Yeah.
Not to take that left turn, but when we're talking about, I just talked about like New York, Chicago versus New York, LA.
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah.
Aren't they so different?
So different, man.
I mean, I had COVID right away. I was like patient zero.
Did you?
I was hospitalized.
Jesus.
Yeah. And so, no pre-existing. I probably just pushed the envelope too much and didn't know what it was and wasn't as concerned with it. But one of the positive resultants of that was it was behind me. My antibodies were off the chart.
Right.
So I traveled more in 2020 than I had probably in any other year.
Yeah.
And, New York, I've gone to New York, LA, Miami. I've looked seriously at deals in Miami, New York. Super intimidating.
Yeah.
Like those are just, not to say that Chicago is easier.
Right.
But Chicago is, Chicago's a little bit more emotionally connected, a little bit less cutthroat, a little bit, I don't want to say more forgiving. And it probably is, but I don't mean to say that Chicago's...
It's not soft.
Right.
Right.
It's just that LA, a success is if you lasted 3 years.
Yeah.
Those places just turn over so fast.
That's crazy.
In New York, the prices are through the roof that you don't if you're ambitious, that's not enough. You have to be ambitious with a fat check.
And fucking rich.
Yeah, enriched in order to get that opportunity.
Yeah.
And Miami has such international, mostly South American, but certainly Eastern European roots.
Yeah.
That if you're not connected or vibing with that, it's hard enough to vibe with your neighbors, let alone on an international basis.
Yeah,
Whereas
Chicago guy in Miami
has that Midwestern charm and of support. So it's a really cool city to have opportunity in. And if you are sort of, thinking about, I want to take that leap, I want to get involved, I want to try this. I'm scared, I'm nervous, I don't, I have this daytime job, I have the... Yeah. But know that you're in a city that sort of gives you a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of cushion in order to have those things.
There's opportunity here.
So, that's why I say Chicago's not soft. It's not that it's soft, it's that it embraces that. It's part of our cultural fabric. And it has allowed not only me, it has allowed a lot of people who, age is timing.
Yeah.
And timing, you don't have a say when the timing is right sometimes.
Right.
But if you go for it, regardless of where you are, there is that opportunity. And there is that sort of rope that we discussed, where you get to try things out.
Yeah. Now, I love what you said there for a lot of different reasons, and I think that is what makes Chicago so special. And I kind of want to dive in with you to what you were mentioning as compared to New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Paris, Berlin, Dubai, inside the United States, outside the United States. Kind of what makes Chicago, Chicago, and what makes Chicago hospitality groups, like you said, as a collective. And I think I can't speak for New York and LA because I don't know as much. But it seems like you said, we all work together here. what type of city is Chicago trying to be? What
Yeah.
are we now, and what are we trying to be as compared to them?
Such a cool question.
Yeah.
I think this is a question that everyone should participate in. We should all get out a pen and paper.
I agree.
Old school format and write an essay on what is Chicago trying to be.
Yeah.
Because
That's a good thesis.
I'm willing to venture that depending on your industry, job, and responsibility, the answers are going to be different.
Yeah.
But don't pause this section if you live here. If you don't live here, what do you care? But if you live here...
If you don't live here, you should care, though, because we are trying to do something.
This isn't just a rhetorical question. What is Chicago trying to be? So let's look at the other cities first.
Yeah.
Wow. First of all, let me say, love this question.
Thank you.
New York. New York has more late-hour licenses than any major city in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So New York never sleeps.
Yeah.
New York has incredible cultural influences because, from that side of the world's civilization, it's our first major city.
Right.
So that's where, that's I believe, short of 9 million, but 8 million plus people.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's a lot of different cultural influences. Having those late hours, you get to experience those cultural influences.
Mm-hmm.
Those late hours are not nightclubs. So in Chicago, there's late hour bars and there's late hour clubs.
Right.
Most people know late hours to be clubs.
Right.
There's a couple of good dive bars.
Oh, definitely.
But if you're a dive bar person, it's not as frequently that it's 3:34 in the morning and you're at LA. But club goers want late hours. In New York, there's late hour restaurants, late hour lounges, late hour mixology bars. There's late hour clubs. There's late hour bars.
Yeah.
There's late hour neighborhood bars.
Yeah.
I think that contributes to tourism. I think that contributes to metropolitan fabric.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to live in a suburb, I would say no late hours.
Yeah.
That's why I'm living out in the suburbs.
Yeah.
My problem with cities that are resistant to late hours is that that's part of a major metropolitan's fabric.
Yeah.
People in the suburbs, I own restaurants in the suburbs, our peak time for dinner reservations is 7:30.
Right.
Late is 8:39. Nobody gets a reservation at 8:39.
Nobody.
In the city, I mean, when I go to New York,
yeah,
I'm fortunate enough to be able to get reservations. I still want a reservation at 9:30, 10.
Yeah.
Because now you're finishing at 11:30, 12.
Time to go out.
And now it's time to go out. And by the way, I'm not an anomaly. And it's not because I'm a millennial.
Right.
There's people, that's a lot of people we're talking about.
Oh, it's European lifestyle too.
Yeah. LA?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have the most. The least is LA.
Yeah.
LA has none. LA has no late hour licenses by their. So I have a law firm. Our law firm does. This is a plug. I think we call that in the podcast.
Please.
We're allowed to plug.
Drop it.
So my law firm represents developers, business owners, obviously hospitality, and we deal in regulatory bureaucracy sort of landings. But but I'm familiar not only certainly with Chicago, but with other cities.
Yeah.
God, that was a shameless plug.
It was good.
It could even
it was seamless
at the bottom of my
You're very good at
law
that.
firms.
What's it called? Can you tell us what it's called?
There we go.
City Lake Law.
That's funny. But LA, this is historical, but I don't know if there's two other people who find this fascinating, but me and you. But this is
it's okay.
So LA has the least amount of late hour licenses.
It's true.
So there, and now what do we know about LA? Well, everyone closes at 1:30.
Yeah.
And then you go to a house party.
Right.
You go to the hills.
Right.
Somebody's throwing a house party.
Mm-hmm.
And what comes with that? Well, that scene is different.
Yeah.
That scene has a different vibe. It has a different intensity level.
Right.
Their music isn't as it doesn't have the same BPM level as would New York.
So true.
Because you're in a home. You could probably opine as to drug use, which I'm not interested in going down that road, but you can imagine the role of drugs in differing communities.
It's a very good perspective, though. Seriously.
And LA should have a late hour.
Yeah. Makes no
and
sense.
LA's hospitality is a little bit more fleeting.
Mm.
You know, that's where if like you survive for 3 years, you're considered a success.
That seems crazy.
So then you go down to Miami.
Yeah.
Which I think is the most diverse
Mm-hmm.
Hospitality, nightlife, cultural scene in the United States.
Does it even seem Americanized there? You know?
It
right.
America is foreign.
Yeah.
I think to Miami.
Right.
And so everything you know about Miami, if you're looking for something,
Mm-hmm.
Miami and New York have it, but Miami has it probably on a scale that is a little bit more European or South American influence. Probably more South American influence.
Yeah.
But, so, okay, now let's land back to Chicago.
Right.
And then we could go into Europe because that's where I'd like to go. But Chicago has late-hour licenses.
Yeah.
I have a few.
Right.
There's a lot of moratoriums.
Mm-hmm.
The city of Chicago may likely never issue another new late-hour license.
Yeah, it's all grandfathered in, right?
Yeah, because there's this big moratorium. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of ideas. I want to deliver Chicago's first 7 a.m. license, but I have a plan. But you know, with that late-hour scene, what has been really cool to see is Chicago's now known since 2018 as the #1 culinary capital in the United States. That's really cool.
It is.
The James Beard Awards,
Yeah.
which is the Oscars for restaurants
Yep.
and restaurateurs, not in the U.S., but in the world,
Yeah.
are held now. They were in New York for, forever,
Yeah.
decades and decades. Now they're in Chicago. They've recently moved to Chicago. The Michelin stars are piling up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we can embrace a little bit more of a nightlife culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've kind of deviated away from that.
Yeah.
When you talk about the birth of house music,
Yeah.
that's like a huge deal.
Huge.
I mean, and by the way, not just in the Midwest, in the U.S., you're talking about major European influences, major Asian influences, South American influences.
Everything.
Everything. It's a global connector when it comes
early
to music.
1980s is when this shit fucking popped, Carmen, and then now it's coming back. It's always been there, but appreciate you acknowledging that. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's say, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like Chicago's known for that, right?
Right.
And a historical basis.
Yeah.
So now we want to attract people from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Lollapalooza gets 100,000 people a day,
Yeah.
what proportion of those people do you think are Chicagoland residents?
Oh.
You don't want a big proportion.
No.
You don't want...
You want people coming to the city.
You want people to come into the city to see... I would have never seen Chicago but for this incredible music festival.
Right.
Therefore, I have to come back here.
Right.
I had no idea that in August, in the summer, Chicago's the #1 city in the country.
Yeah.
There's no one that competes with Chicago in the summer.
Yeah.
I say that as a fact. I want that like written in stone.
Suzette, clip that. It's a fact.
Yes. So we have this great city that, because of music, now we have people who would have maybe never visited Chicago because they hear of some facts being the weather or, the wind or like those are just like, okay, yeah, there is weather and there is wind.
Sure.
And then some stereotypes with crime, which are leading a little bit more from stereotype into reality. But, okay, but give the city a chance.
Yeah.
And maybe they wouldn't have because of, those externalities. But now, as a result of this great music festival, we're getting all of these outsiders to come into the city and saying, I'm going to come back here and visit. I didn't get a chance to go out on the lake.
Right.
I didn't get a chance to see the air and water show or go to these museums or see these clubs. And oh my God, you guys have these clubs where my artist is now doing their after show.
Yeah.
Like, man, this is amazing. Who knew you guys have these late hours? Holy shit, I heard, I ate, every restaurant I ate at was amazing.
Yep.
And then I asked around other people and they told me to go here and here and here.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance because I'm That's what we want.
Yeah.
And I think that's the role of a city to grow. So our population is actually in a crisis. We were at 3.2 million only, 15 years ago. Now we're below 2.8.
Yeah.
We're going the other way.
Why is
Once
that?
you hit into 2.4, 2.3, you're in a danger zone.
Yeah.
And you're seeing cities like Houston emerge.
Big
lax
city.
zoning. You're seeing Scottsdale soar in 2020. One of the huge winners of metropolitan movement.
Yeah.
I think Florida did a brilliant job. Say what you will about Florida.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with science.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that they've gained an incredible amount of people, and Illinois lost 80,000 people.
Yeah.
We're the biggest loser in 2020. Nobody lost more people
80,000
than we did.
I didn't know that.
And by the way, we haven't gained since 2001. So the last year that we were in the green for year-over-year population was 20 years ago.
Oof.
We lose people every year. It's slowly but sure. And yet we are trying to become more regulatory.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I think we need to say, whoa. If you want the suburbs, there's amazing suburbs.
Yeah.
We could spend, podcast after podcast about all the amazing suburbs.
Yeah.
We'll leave it to CTTW. Is that the local channel?
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
But for our purposes, we'll talk about, what can make Chicago dynamic.
Yeah.
And wow, it's food. We're proving that. That's becoming. It's cultural and diversity. Like, look at the emergence of neighborhoods.
Awesome.
Like Pilsen, Bucktown,
West Loop growing too.
Logan
is the shit.
Like, West Loop is so popular that it created this inner West Loop called Fulton Market.
Yeah.
It didn't even exist. Fulton Market was the mid, which was
literally
amazing.
the mid. Yeah.
Like,
Shout out to the mid.
We need the mid back.
Yeah, we do.
Mid was where I cut my teeth. Enclave.
Same.
Mid. Yeah. But the we have the dynamics. That's not a word. Dynamices. I was spelling it right, but I'm pronouncing it wrong. In any event, we have these dynamic neighborhoods, and we have this explosive culinary scene. Now we sort of, we need to embrace nightlife, music, flavor.
Yeah.
Like having a rave scene. Listen, I'm not a teetotaler by any means.
Yeah.
I think with raves comes a little bit of
danger, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, you're increasing the likelihood of an issue. I understand that.
Yeah.
But the concept of that scene is really important.
Right.
We need bodies experiencing volume on a massive level.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen a few major music venues deliver that.
Well, yeah, and Radius coming last year too.
Radius is a
help that.
massive one.
Yeah.
I was there on opening night.
Yeah.
I want to say it was Dylan Francis.
Yeah, it was Dylan Francis.
It was awesome.
I saw Carl Cox there right before this all stopped.
Awesome.
So cool.
And the way that it's laid out. Which, by the way, I have nothing to do with it. This is me being a fan.
Yeah.
This is, it's stadium style.
Yeah.
You're experiencing the massive and the energy. Aragon is another great example.
Oh.
My firm represents a lot of theaters, and I'm not here to plug necessarily, but like you get that stadium. The problem with some of the theaters is it cuts at, by license, by ordinance, has to cut at a certain time.
Right.
And and by the way, that's positive policy. If you're going to have a theater, if you're going to have something in a neighborhood, like, okay.
Well, especially there too.
But we need now the place that people can pour into.
And fucking rave.
No one's going to experience an atmosphere like that at 4 p.m.
No.
Like they would at midnight.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a cavalier concept.
I think that's science.
I think that's pretty genetic in the human makeup and fabric. But
yeah,
I think it takes 50 factors, variables, 50,000.
Yeah.
I think it takes everything we were talking about. I think it takes luck, but I'm willing to venture. We all want. And here's again, not a political statement, but certainly a boring one. We all want the same thing. We all want the population to increase.
Yeah.
We all want to know we live in one of the best cities in the world.
Yeah.
Chicago in 2018 was named the 8th most important economy in the world. I think that's an incredible accolade.
Yeah.
The West Loop is the #1 moved to zip code for millennials in the country. I think that's a powerful statistic.
No shit.
I love stats. I love boasting Chicago.
Yeah.
But I don't, I think with that, we all need to be a little bit more open-minded, a little bit more positive about things that we may not have experienced, that may make us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But we're open-minded to those different societal forces.
Yeah.
I think music is a central crux of that success.
Yeah, and well said on many fronts there, Carmen. And one thing I want to point out too, and something that I'm experiencing, I'm 28 years old, right? I've been living in Chicago for the past 6 years. So I moved here when I was 22 years old. Chicago on an international front is the home of house music, right? And people come here, and when I interview international DJs, wow, you're from Chicago, must be a great scene, all this sort of stuff.
Totally.
Only in the past couple of years has it really changed Chicago from my perspective, and I just wanted to give you my perspective as like a DJ and a performer.
Please.
When you mentioned Aragon, I played a show at Aragon last year, and I opened up for Galantis, right?
I think I was at that show.
Fucking sickest show I've ever played in my life.
I was at that show.
It changed my life. Right? And I was preparing for it for a few months, and I was like, what do I play at this show? There's going to be a lot of young people there. There's going to be, more of a bigger crowd, right? And I stuck to my guns because this isn't parlay. You know what I mean? Not to say anything, but this is a venue. You know what I mean? And I said, I'm going to play fucking house music. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to teeter-totter on that line of what is popular and what is traditional and what's in the roots of the city. And I listened back to this set recently because it's been a year since it happened. And I said to myself...
You want to be returned to that moment.
I did. I said, damn, I play a lot of house music.
Love it.
And it was just so cool for me because I really want younger generations, like you and I appreciate this stuff, obviously. But I think it's so important that when people talk about Chicago on a global scale, from a music perspective, it doesn't have to be house music. Blues is huge here. So many incredible blues artists help shape the foundation of rhythm.
Birth of the blues.
Yeah, exactly, man. So I just wanted to compliment Chicago like you are as well. I love boasting Chicago, but it's important that the younger generations that move here, millennials moving to the Fulton Market area, know what's going on here, man.
I think you touched on a huge responsibility of Chicago in delivering to people of different culture.
Yeah.
So Chicago boasts itself as one of great cultural diversity. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's the I don't want to screw this up. 77 neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it's called something. I think it might be 77 neighborhoods, but the idea is that there's 77, which is a number.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of different neighborhoods that make up this great city of Chicago.
Right.
So now here we are as a city advancing as one of our main tenets, cultural diversity. Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Right.
Love that,
yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
So on board with it. I love that I'm from a city that's at the forefront.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Same.
really, really cool. Especially since I didn't come from a town where that was at the forefront.
I came from a small town in Indiana too.
Right.
I feel you.
So, how exciting is that? Okay, now let's peel that back.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Cultural diversity isn't just, ethnicity. Mm-hmm. It's cultural influences. And cultural influences can be a myriad, infinite. It could be, just family tradition, cultural, religious, but certainly food, music. There's just such a hodgepodge of all these different variables and influences. So let's go back to Galantis.
Yeah.
And your show.
Yeah.
Which I was at. So you said I'm just repeating what you just said.
Yeah.
You had a lot of younger people there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, you also didn't.
Yeah, true.
I was there.
That's right.
And now what did all of us have in common? Well, we all went to a show.
Right.
Which means we didn't go to get a steak.
Yeah.
Which means we didn't go to try some crazy mixology.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what you're getting when you go to but we were there to hear music.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we go into it with this sort of broad, yes, I know what Galantis sort of genre, I know what to expect from them, but there are openers.
Right.
And the reason there are openers, now what isn't an opener? Rule of thumb. It's like the cardinal rule. The opener is not what the main is.
The headliner.
I don't know anything about music, but I've watched headliners be like, you better fucking change that music now or
I had a big do not playlist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, which means now let's keep dissecting.
Yep.
Which means, okay, wait a minute. I can't be that.
Right.
Which means I have to be not that.
Yep.
Which means I have to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that something else is totally creative control.
Yeah.
Now you may never get booked again, but you've got people who are there who know I'm going to hear something different.
Yep.
At the start.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what that is.
Yep.
And you elected house music.
Yep.
Now, there were probably a lot of people who were like, damn, I didn't know I liked house music so much.
Exactly.
And because now I'm waiting for this main show.
Yeah.
But that is that beautiful opportunity that if you kill it, you're reaching at least a few people.
Oh, yeah.
At least a few.
More than a few. That was huge for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so versus, going back to the product of a venue.
Right.
Where I'm going there for bottle service. I'm going there to celebrate. And that's not me. I know those are obvious points. That's not me competing or conflicting.
Yeah.
That's just me saying, like, if I were the brand DJ.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, I'm an individual. I want to be a DJ. I want to build my brand. What would my DJ name be?
Dude.
Let's say jurisprudence. That's a legal term.
That's so
now that
good.
I say that out loud, it sounds a little like cutting. Harsh.
Well, you sound like maybe Romanian, like a Romanian
it does. It
techno
sounds
DJ.
Eastern. Yes, it sounds hardcore. But I've already said it, so I have to stay.
Okay.
It also sounds like a band with like a lead female singer. Jurisprudence. But jurisprudence is like legal precedent. It's like a legal word.
Okay.
So anyway, jurisprudence.
All right. Headliner.
Damn, I wish I would have came up with a better one. I stuck with water. So, if I was advancing that, I may play.
Yeah.
And here's what's been really cool for me.
Yeah. I've
seen dozens over the years of DJs, guys and girls, like starting off in the circuit, and just they're playing rooms really well.
Yeah.
Where people are having a good time.
Right.
And I know they're having a good time because I'm seeing their bodies move.
Yeah.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
I watch the movement of a room, especially if vibe, energy, and movement is a concept.
Yeah.
So if I own a steakhouse, I'm not looking for movement.
Yeah.
Like that would be weird.
Yeah.
I'd be missing as a steakhouse if I saw people getting up and dancing. So it's different where if my product is vibe, energy, movement.
Yeah.
If I look in a room and I don't see vibe, energy, movement, even if I love what you're playing, I got a problem with it.
Carmen's greatest live wire hits.
Because I want to see that. That's part of our product, right? That's what we're trying to deliver.
Right.
No different than a football team trying to deliver a touchdown as part of its playbook.
Yeah.
We are trying to deliver on that. So now I'm going back into guys and girls in that circuit.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing positive. I want to continue to book that.
Yeah.
Wow, great set. I'm seeing it in two ways. I'll tell you the two ingredients right now.
Yeah.
Movement, vibe, energy.
Yep.
Revenue.
Yep.
I'm a consumer. They just bought more bottles.
Yep.
They're having a great time. They stayed 4 hours instead of 2.
Yep.
We had the line. People are coming in. I want to book this person again. And they played to the crowd.
Yep.
They played to what everybody else wanted. Maybe not what they wanted.
Yeah.
But they played to what the consumer wanted.
Right.
You get booked enough times.
Yeah.
I've seen so many people then advance to because I'll get calls. I'm a part of certain conversations, particularly, at a city festival in the Lollapalooza and the stages being theaters, where it'll be like, who's big up and comer, who's a good opener, who's a
well, NBA All-Star Weekend is a good example too.
All-Star Weekend was a brilliant example because
Yeah.
all of those people are outside,
Yeah, man.
and they just want to be connected to great people who are from here. I could say, I know unequivocally, these are the people you want to see.
Absolutely.
Or it has nothing to do with me. And we
Right.
just watch them, you know, more often than not, we just see them be so popular
Mhm.
and get enough traction to where they're getting their opportunity
Mhm.
before a massive stage
Mhm.
like Galantis
Yeah.
to perform their own, you know, I'm gonna throw out something that, you know, I know you guys are here to listen to something else, but I think you're gonna love this.
Yeah.
If not, you're only wearing it for a few minutes.
Exactly.
You're not gonna be mad at the night because we've got Galantis on the decks.
Yes.
Love that.
There you go.
That is, to me, the evolution of opportunity in that world. And I think
That's where I found
obvious. I think
myself.
that's an obvious point, but I could give that same analogy in hospitality.
Yeah.
I can give that same analogy in starting a business
Mhm.
and concerning yourself with branding or perhaps expansion
Yeah.
or perhaps scaling,
Yeah.
etc.
I love that. And, you know, I brought up NBA All-Star Weekend because you must know Mr. Shaw, great DJ. You guys had, you've had many different people up at Joy District on the levels and Hubbard Inn too. And,
Sure.
and he did a show. I'm forgetting the rapper right now, honestly. I'm embarrassed. I think it was Jeremiah or somebody like that. And he is such a smart and well-experienced DJ that he had all of his music prepared just in case his DJ wasn't ready to go.
Sure.
And he goes, my guy's not ready, blah, 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 all this stuff. He's like,
Oh, wow. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I love this.
And he was prepared and he
This
was
is
ready to go.
behind the scenes.
And this is someone that can headline Tunnel. This is someone that
Oh,
can
yeah, for sure.
do all those sort of things, right? And what you just said there speaks to my experience too. I've done a lot of things with the Music Trust, who works with a lot of Four Corners places, Roof on the Wit right down here, Cerise
Music
Rooftop.
Trust is great.
You know what I
Those
mean?
guys are true passion.
True passion, right? And I knew, and it was hard to get to those spots originally, right?
Sure.
You start with the dive bars, you start with that. And then you realize it all plays towards that Galantis show. When you have the opportunity, if you produce your own music, if you have your own style, know your time, know your place. That's my genuine professional and friendly advice to DJs out there, honestly. And it sounds like you kind of agree with me on that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what, you know, you talk about certain firms or outfits that sort of take the responsibility and role of curating a broad genre of different DJs and musicians.
Yep, exactly.
Those guys are passionate not only about the music, but about the individual.
Absolutely.
And that individual has to be fluid, has to be somebody who's easy to work with,
Mhm.
and has to get knocked down and willing to get back up.
Absolutely.
Because in this industry, man, you know, it's got to be hard to put your emotions on a sleeve, to work tirelessly at curating hours and hours and hours,
Yeah.
and then expected to boil it down maybe into a 40-minute set, maybe into a 25-minute set,
Yeah.
and then just be judged by it. Like
Yeah.
that's, you know, that takes a, and then to get shredded,
Yeah.
like, come on, man, we're humans.
Yep.
We're not machine. We're not AI. We're not Klingons.
Mhm.
We at least have that in common, that there's some emotional connectivity there. And I feel for the plight where, you know, you throw yourself on the line
Yeah.
and it doesn't work. But
Yeah.
what's really cool is maybe you had an off night.
Yeah.
It's your personality, perseverance, your attitude, your passion, your conviction, your willingness to be a part of something that's greater.
Yeah.
That's what brings you back.
Right.
I think that's what's really cool about Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who throw mud at me. Maybe there will even be comments. I would actually ask you to deactivate the comments. But there would, you know, I get it. Like I like to play, everybody wants to play a hero. Sometimes you're the villain.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I don't get terribly emotional about it because, or at least I'm able to compartmentalize my my perceived reality, which is I have a role and responsibility. That's to create. Along the way, there's going to be hiccups.
Yep.
There's going to be missteps. There's going to be unexpected variables. I'm going to screw up.
Yep.
People are going to be upset. It's not going to work out the way that everyone intended.
Yeah.
And it becomes, when somebody's putting their passion and their heart on the line, becomes personal, right?
Yeah.
And that's my intent. That's not my intention.
Yeah.
My intention is not for me.
Right.
My goal is to not maximize profit and utility in order to buy a seat on Elon Musk's, space shuttle to Mars.
You going on that though?
No. I go down with the ship right here in Chicago. But I believe very much so. The conviction that I have is towards my role and responsibility, which is to create, but create is not just revenue.
Mm-hmm.
It's consumer product.
Yeah.
It's jobs.
Yeah.
It's opportunities.
Yeah.
I love that if I can play here's some vulnerability if I were to roll up my sleeve.
Yeah.
I love a DJ who comes up to me and says, "This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite places to play."
Yeah.
Versus
friends
that I have in the industry that are DJs who play there and probably think, "Man, I wish I was somewhere else."
Oof.
Or I wish there was more people.
Yeah.
I know that. You think I want that?
No.
Kills me.
Yeah.
I don't walk away from that being like, don't care, whatever.
Yeah, no
like,
way.
No, dude. No. There's no way you can I don't believe in the ability to turn passion off.
Yeah.
It's not a faucet that you could just be like, off.
Yeah.
Like you're turning that faucet and it's stripped.
They stab.
Like you're still turning it and you're trying to turn it off and the fucking water is pouring.
Yeah.
Because your line is stripped because and it takes you to get a wrench out and crank it under the sink to turn that spigot off. Yeah. That's what passion is.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be that intense.
I agree.
And so when you're that passionate about a place and you're that passionate about the concept of accountability and responsibility toward curating not only the customer experience, but also the employee's experience. Yep. Nobody wants to work in a place that's vitriolic or abrasive, aggressive.
Absolutely.
Negative.
Yeah.
And nobody, not just the servers and bartenders and cooks, but and the back of house, but the musicians. Yeah. The entertainers and the DJs who are there to say like, wow, I love this energy. And maybe it's an off night. Yeah. Which happens in the city.
It does.
No one's impervious to that. But you know what? I still had a great night because the staff is great. Yep. And the people that were there were great. Yep. And I get along with ownership. And like I'm very conscious of that. It doesn't always work out. Right. And that's where I get some mud. Yeah. And I don't mind it. I'd rather the mud be thrown at me than, at staff or management or anybody else. But I go back to why that makes Chicago such a dynamic scene. That's our Midwestern charm. Mm-hmm. So circling all the way back to an original question. That's what separates us, I think, from Miami, LA, New York. In that we have this camaraderie. Mm-hmm. We have this level of compassion. Yeah. And we have this degree of identity. Yeah. In who we are, where we're from, and we deal with the elements. Yeah. Like nobody gives a shit about the weather. I mean, we complain about it on social media. Yeah, but we
nobody.
It is what it is. Like,
yeah, totally.
Here it is.
I say we earn Chicago's summer.
It's great. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and nobody complains. I mean, people complain like on social media,
they
but
won't do anything.
Nobody does anything about it. Like nobody, we just like yesterday. Yesterday it just was an onslaught of snow out of nowhere, and it's just like, this is.
It is what it is.
But yeah, that's where we get our summers. So,
Carmen, do you think so? Los Angeles typically known as a transplant city. New York City, one of the most populated cities in the world. Obviously, there's not going to be everybody from New York City there. Miami, like you said, is mostly Southern American, hardly even American influence. The one thing about Chicago, most people here are from the tri-state area, the Midwest area. They come here because it's the closest thing to home, and we have that sort of Midwestern attitude, like you said, that connection to sports, that connection to family. Do your parents still live in Frankfort?
Yeah.
My parents still live in Zionsville, Indiana.
The same house I grew up in.
And listen, my dad is from New York City, and my mom is from Baltimore, Maryland, and I was born in Los Angeles. And I moved to Indiana. I moved to Indiana when I was 1 year old, right? And my dad said, "We'll be here for a year, honey. We'll be here for 2 years," right? They've been there for 28 fucking years.
That's awesome.
And whenever I tell that story, I always think about the perspective and the appreciation I have for the Midwest. Growing up, the things that I could do with my friends, we would complain about not having things to do. Well, what would we do? We would sit in each other's friends' basements and hang out and talk and try and drink without our parents finding out. And we went to college in the Midwest so we could still be close to our friends. And some people go off. But most of us came to Chicago because that's why I live in the Loop, man. You know what I mean? Like, I have part of me in me that loves the Midwest. But I said, I can get a city experience in the Midwest, and that's Chicago. And to me, that's my response for what makes Chicago Chicago, is because, yeah, it's tough here. Yeah, it's competitive. Yeah, there's so many things that could put you down on your ass. But there's a lot more people here that are going to help you get picked back up.
Totally. No truer words have been said. I think that's the most romantic way to look at our beautiful city. I mean, I think right now it puts so much of it into perspective, given the pandemic, given the crime, given the social unrest, given given Godzilla attacking, given the, killer hornets and I know, it's just one headline after another, but if you can, it's not unimportant noise. It's very important noise.
Yeah.
But don't lose sight of, the beautiful colors and the reality that make up that have spent generations.
Yeah.
No city just becomes great tomorrow.
Yeah.
No city becomes institutional tomorrow.
Yeah.
It has taken so much history and so much calamity and so much, whether it's friction or whether it's golden years, that was all contributed to the confluence, which now lands us into this very comfortable city. So I think people move here out of comfort.
Yeah.
A lot of the reasons that comfort is for what you just described.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the Midwest, I say it's Midwest charm. I've never heard somebody say, I hate charm. It's pretty recognizable as a positive attribute. But,
that'd be negligent. Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
But we're on a population decline.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're even at an identity crisis. We some time ago we were talking about what is Chicago trying to be? What is Chicago? I think we're the type of cultural city that can slow things down, recognize us for our expansive diversity.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 77 neighborhoods is a really cool theme.
Yeah.
I can't tell. New York has 5 boroughs.
Yeah.
77 sounds cooler than 5.
Yeah, it does.
And LA is very flat and expansive.
And people don't realize Los Angeles is not all of Los Angeles, right?
And by the way, has incredible cultural diversity and has a fantastic scene. And California as a whole, I mean, San Francisco.
It's another world.
Right. All the way down to San Diego.
Yeah.
There's amazing restaurants, and I think it's fun. I will say I love being a traveler.
Mm-hmm.
I love being in the middle.
Me too.
It's not as
It's
far.
a good spot, yeah.
I always think about that. I mean,
so do I.
I always think like, man, thank God. When I go to LA and I'm like, ugh, it's a long flight. I'm like, well, at least I'm not from New York.
I like Central Time too. You like Central Time?
I love Central Time. I mean, we're kind of just like, all right, I'm not screwed with the time changes. I mean, I will be in 4 different cities this week. In a 7-day period, I'll be in 4 different cities this week. So, and 3 different time zones. But I like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little grounded with having being centrally located. But, diving a little bit deeper than the surface,
Yeah.
I think it's really, I think we're at a point right now. I think every major city. So when you talk about here, again, I really don't like to get political, but I'm just versed with other cities. Yeah. We're not the only city going through this.
No.
Every city in the country is going through this. Every major city. And by this, the pronoun this? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mean anything specific.
Yeah.
I just mean we all went through 2020.
I was going to say, is it being sped up because
major
of COVID?
Themes.
Yeah.
We all went through, I wouldn't describe this as, a playbook, a textbook year, or 18 months, so to speak.
Yeah.
But Chicago has the opportunity, like every other city, to really define itself and how they're coming out from it. How are they going to define itself?
Yeah.
Yes, history. Being conscious and cognizant of, historical and cultural influences, but also investing in the future, which is a generational thing, right?
Yeah.
Millennials and Gen Z will absolutely shape it.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're looking at the musical influences.
Mm-hmm.
I call it mumble rap because that's a popular nomenclature, but will there be a mumble rap venue
Good point.
defines Chicago, defines a certain scene in Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
Like we have house music venues, like we have blues venues,
True.
like we have certain hip hop clubs,
Yeah.
like we have certain, there's all, or the dive bars, that proverbial top 40.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't think anybody has the answer to that. That's the reason I bring that up.
Right.
I think there is, I think we just need to be open-minded, supportive. We have to go out. We have to support. We have to, put ourselves out of our comfort zones a little bit. Imagine, some sort of trails not taken. But I look at it as a positive. I think the next 2 or 3 years are going to be really, really cool.
Yeah.
And there may be some things that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. I'm excited to see what that is.
Is anything new and exciting coming for A Hospitality that you can share with us right now?
For
you individually, maybe?
I'm in Cannabis. We're trying to, not only just from the legal sense, but as a degree of hospitality services collaboration.
Does Cannabis fall under the hospitality umbrella in the future?
As a retail basis, I would believe so, because on the horizon for the state are licenses which will allow consumption on premise, is what they're called.
Okay.
Which means you'll be able to not only able to buy but consume on premise.
And buy alcohol and everything too, like it'd be all in one.
Well, we're not there yet. I think eventually it's called stacking licenses.
Okay.
So where you'll be able to have alcohol and cannabis necessarily under the same roof. And I'm advocating for that, even though I'm not advocating for, out of personal experience, consumption of alcohol and cannabis.
Right.
There is not a worse.
Getting faded. Yeah.
You're fucked. I mean, and if you're not, you're more of a wizard than I am. But I'm heavy into gaming.
Yeah.
What's really cool for us, and by us I mean on a generational basis, we've seen in this country legislation that has been illegal since the inception of our country.
Yeah.
That is now being not only legalized, but regulated, licensed, distributed.
Yeah.
That's once in lifetime.
Yeah, true.
Cannabis and gaming is once in lifetime. If you're involved in those industries, you are at the ground level today. And we're seeing that. We're seeing Barstool being some company of vagabonds who have opinions related to sport that have a targeted market. Now their valuation and worth is beyond
billions,
measurable. I mean, it will. When I say it's beyond measure today, it's because there is no ceiling defined for them.
Right.
Given the infancy of gaming.
Because they're the first of their kind, basically.
And then these cannabis companies, which is where my philosophy, my talent is not, I'm not good. I'm not good at any one thing, literally.
Yeah.
I like saying yes to projects, to introductions, to networking, to meetings.
Right.
But I would at least say I'm not only conscious of trends and the next thing, whether it's financial market, whether it's real estate, whether, whether it's neighborhoods, whether, I just like to participate. You could see, it's easy for me to rattle off statistics, facts, and numbers.
Yeah.
Because that's important to me, and I just follow that. But when it comes to industry, again, what's been exciting is that I've been able to prove some success in industries that I had no experience in.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that to gloat, because I think modesty and humility is endearing.
Well, you proved that you learned those things.
But I say it maybe not as advice, but encouragement.
Yeah.
I had no experience in the industries that I've found a modicum of a success in.
Yeah.
Therefore, I have the confidence and courage to go into other industries like gaming and cannabis that I have no network experience and success in.
Right.
But I've seen it before. And for those who are thinking, well, I want to get into whatever.
Yeah.
Music, hospitality, arts, doesn't matter, finance, whatever the industry.
Right.
And thinking I have no experience or network.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fuck off. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
If you start with a leg up, God bless you, man.
Yeah.
I wish I was born with a leg up.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't hate on anybody who does.
Yeah.
I'm very envious, very jealous.
Yeah.
And those who take that leg up and turn it into 2, 3, 4 legs up.
Yeah, take advantage.
Take it. Wonderful. I would hope to do the same.
Yeah.
But for those that start, kind of in the unknown and in the gray, that's not intended or meant to be a defeatist position.
Yeah.
I think that, you can look to other examples, anecdotes, stories, paths, and say, well, wait a minute. If this guy can do it, I really think anybody can do it.
You really have an incredible story, Carmen, and I know you're not one to gloat, but I do want to acknowledge you for that. I do want to acknowledge you for all the hard work you put in and all the success you've done and everything you give back to the city. And you're so far from being done, and it's exciting to sit with you here today because
to God's ears, brother.
Yeah, man. Like I feel your energy, and it just is awesome to sit here with someone who believes in Chicago like I do. You know what I mean? And I know there are more people out there that do, but aren't so outspoken. And I think it's really important that people do share what we have here. Do share the sports. Do share the culinary. Do share the hospitality. Do share the music.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely.
And if we can leave the listeners with anything today, it's that obviously we love Chicago, but I don't know.
We owe the city a lot.
We owe the city a lot. Exactly.
It's not just about, yesterday's snow. There are brighter
the snow will come.
days.
Yeah, there's the seasons
Brighter
here. I
and
can't make any
warmer days.
promises on that,
Totally
but
right.
it is an incredible city, and gosh, it's just been such a pleasure, man. Like,
no, thank you. I really appreciated the time, and I hope that I kept the tangents to a minimum. Though I know that's not true, and the rabbit hole is not as deep.
well,
that's not
I
true,
think we got
but-
some follow-ups we got to do for sure. Maybe some panels.
Go.
I love me a good panel, man.
I promise. I promise. If you ask me, I'll say yes. It's my religion.
I'm gonna need your help setting those things up, baby. Let's
can
get
do
the
that.
most special panels at the
would love
best 8 hospitality venues and get people there so we can educate them in person about this sort of stuff, right?
Well, thanks, man. Thanks.
Thank
for the
you,
time.
brother. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. And make sure to check out 8 Hospitality and everything they do. It's going to be a big year in 2021 when things are back, baby. Let's go. Thank you. Hey, what's up? And thanks for watching that video. You looking for more content now? I got your back. Go to my YouTube channel right now, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you turn on all notifications so you never miss any upcoming exclusive artist interviews, Sherman the Booth clips, new music, live sets, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything electronic music. Cheers.